Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters, guests, welcome wherever you are watching or wherever you are joining from, whether it's a morning, it's an afternoon, it's an evening. We welcome you to this session and happy that you have joined us. In my career, as I struggled climbing the corporate ladder and having challenges in terms of leadership, I discovered that leadership is not about the academic papers, it's not about the technical skills I had. Leadership is about my communication, I speaking with power and clarity, and I being able to connect with the people I'm speaking to. And my communication influenced my decisions or my expression in the boardrooms. And therefore today, as I join this meeting, I'm here to understand and appreciate the journey and also learn how best do I position myself as a communicator, especially when it comes to impromptu speaking, where I'm called upon as a leader to share my ideas, to pass through my technical or understanding skills in a boardroom. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Dr. Jane Amisi, who is our moderator for today's session. Dr. Jane Amisi is a HR and leadership development expert. She's also a certified speaker, coach, and a trainer with John Maxwell team. Dr. Amisi believes that leadership is all about influence. She works with leaders from diverse fields to expand their influence for greater impact in the world. Dr. Amisi is passionate on working with seasoned and aspiring leaders, including me. I have worked with her very closely, empowering and developing the ability to achieve the highest potential in personal, professional, and business lives. This is achieved through mastermind group training, workshop, and speaking engagement, where Jane shares relevant and practical principles, strategies for development. Jane is a certified coach with International Coaching Federation, and she's also a member of the ICF Kenya chapter. Last but important, Dr. Jane is an early bird Toastmaster since 2018. Currently, she's undertaking a presentation mystery level 5 elective project on moderating panel discussion. And that is the agenda for today, where we will interact with Dr. Jane. The main reason we are here today is help her or support her in achieving this milestone in her Toastmaster career. Dr. Jane holds a doctorate degree in human resource development from the University of Malaysia, master in personal management and industrial leadership, and she holds a bachelor degree in sociology, both from Punjab University of India. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, and allow me to introduce Dr. Jane as she walks this journey. Thank you and enjoy the session. Welcome, Doc.
Thank you very much, my friend, fellow leader, fellow communicator, Violet. That is a wonderful introduction, and I appreciate it. It's my utmost pleasure to welcome all of you to this session. Feel welcome. This is a discussion on a topic that you're very much relevant with, and I want to believe one that you like most. There is no leader who goes without communication. There is no thought that comes across without communication. Forging an emotional connection with your audience is a linchpin for your effective leadership. While most of us, in many times, cover and focus on data and information, these are crucial but not sufficient. The emotional resonance with which inspires and gives courage and drives change matters most, because it will foster loyalty between you and your colleagues and teammates, and it will also help to generate impact. For most of us, would call that productivity. An emotionally connected audience is not just engaged, but also committed and fully devoted. Today, we are going to explore the art of tapping into an emotional audience, a skill that distinguishes exceptional speakers and leaders from those who are still becoming. Through this thoughtful discussion, We are going to share experiences. We'll uncover techniques and strategies that we can use to nurture ourselves, to elevate our emotional connectiveness with our audience, and therefore elevate our communication and leadership skills. Fellow leaders, I don't need to go much further. Mine is to welcome you to sit back, enjoy the discussion, and you're going not just to be entertained, but gain skills. With me today is an able team with me. We have leaders, we've got communicators who are going to go through with me in this discussion. We've got 3 panelists. One is Terence Were, Emmy Owiti, and Joycelyn McKenna. First of all, welcome and thank you so much for accepting the invitation. Good. So I'm going to start with the introductions to our panelists. We've got Emily Owiti. Emily Owiti is a researcher and a strategic communicator. She's also a policy advocacy and knowledge management professional at the University of Nairobi, and that is at the Women Economic Empowerment Hub. Emily is also a part-time lecturer at the University of Nairobi in the Faculty of Business and Management Science, and that is in the Department of Business Administration. She is a PhD candidate in project management. Congratulations, Emily. Emily is a policy advocate both at national and global levels. She's a member of Kenyan National Advocacy Coalition on Women Economic Empowerment and Communications Technical Working Group at Web We Prosper. Emily is an adept communicator. She's been a member of Toastmasters International now going 6 years. She's been sharpening her leadership and communication skills. During that time, she has served many roles. She's been the club's vice president of public relations for 2 consecutive years. She's been club president. She's served as an area director. She's completed her pathways severally. Members, help me to welcome Emily Owiti. We've got our second panelist, Joycelyn McKenna. Joycelyn is a real estate land administration expert who is passionate about delivering exceptional services to her clients. She's a proponent of authentic relationships built on mutual support, understanding, and trust. Having worked in the private sector with non-governmental organizations and in the public sector, she's seen an effect of emotional intelligence and reading from the room with the ability to connect with others and deliver teamwork. I would love to mention that during my stay as an early bird member, I've been mentored by Joyce, and Joyce has been my mentor for a very long time. And that means she's gone through the various processes of Toastmasters. Let me take the time now to introduce the third panelist that we've got, Terence Were. Terence Were is a business analyst. Terence is a seasoned Toastmaster and who is a passionate leader. He joined Toastmasters community, and that is Early Bird Toastmasters in Kenya, that is in the year 2020. And he has grown in the club, in the area as division leader, and the district served as sergeant at arms. He's been the president of Early Bird Toastmasters, and he has also served as vice president membership. He's also served as the manager of the district and division. Fellow members, fellow team leaders, from that introduction, I am not surprised that we've got such a core team of communicators. Proud that most of us, almost all of us in that program are Toastmasters. So as Toastmasters, we are dealing with a very key topic, and that is spark an emotional connection. Engage with your audience. I've been a speaker for a long time. And I remember my very first time when Joyce was my mentor. She took me through the process, and I was wondering deeply within me, I was figuring out I'm a PhD holder. I'm going to crush this program. 1 year, I'm going to finish all the 5 levels. And that was my focus. I was armed in my mind to finish this. Friends, I will tell you that I am still there 7 years down the line. I've gone through the program once, but I'm still going through. I've not mastered communication as it is. One of the key aspects is emotional connection with your audience. We have gone through speaking roles, we've gone through conferences, and we have seen people in the art of communication. You've seen people in stages. Severally, I've seen people seated in the front row, but nodding their heads left and right. Not that they get it, but because they are dozing. People could be tired, but it's also an indication of boredom. But whose role is it to keep them engaged? Is it you to go and tap their shoulders? Not really, but there are smarter ways to tap their shoulders as a speaker. That is exactly what we are going to learn and to talk about today. So I'd like to hear our panelists spark an emotional connection and engage with your audience. How do you spark emotional connection? But even before we get there, what is emotional connection? What do you understand by this term? Help us understand and get into this discussion. Terence, would you take us first on that? What do you understand with the term emotional connection before we spark it on?
Thank you, Dr. Jen, and thank you for having me in this panel. For me, emotional connection is that space where what the audience is feeling is understood by the speaker. For instance, you mentioned the example of someone dozing off. He could be disconnected for one reason or the other. And if and when the speaker connects with that person emotionally, he or she can get rid of that boredom or that sleep and get that audience member back in the room. And that's what I call emotional connection. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Terence, for your views on emotional connection, getting in touch with the audience. Yes, Emily, could we hear something else from you? What do you understand with emotional connection?
Thank you, Dr. Jane, and thank you, everyone. It's not far from what Terence has said, but more about understanding if the audience have any kind of pain points. And if it's not pain points, it's really what excites them. Why are they there? Do you take time to, just prior to engaging the audience, to know who they are and why they are there and how whatever it is that you're saying connects with them? Because many times we get positions to speak, opportunities, but we simply deliver the message that we want to deliver that person sitting in front of you. So really, it's finding that bond which is beyond the surface by taking time to understand these people that you're engaging. Thank you.
Great. Finding the bond that is beyond the surface. Meaning as we speak with the audience or as we stand in those platforms, there need to be some bond. And the bond is not the physical, it's beyond the eye to eye, it's beyond the physical person seated down there and me, the physical person standing on stage. Thank you very much, Emily. Jocelyn, could we hear your view, please?
Okay. Thank you, Jen. My view on what is an emotional connection is the speaker looking out for those feelings of what the audience is intensely feeling. You might be speaking and like you've said, the audience is bored and they're yawning and stretching and they're scrolling on their phone. It's observing for those micro expressions, the body language that communicates with the speaker on if the connection is there or it is lost, and then being able to quickly adjust, whether it's the tone, the volume, adding an anecdote, having a strategy, depending on the audience, on how to reconnect emotionally.
Good, good, good. Thank you so much, Joyce. Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you so much, Terence. From just that introduction, fellow friends, fellow leaders, emotional connection with the audience we've had is more than just the physical connection or the physical side. It is finding a bond between you and your audience or your participants. It's beyond just what you see, but it is a feelings that you can see through, including through the body, how people gesture themselves, including when they doze. I believe that is the negative aspect of that emotion. Thank you so much for those. And fellow participants, our audience, you are free to ask questions whenever you can. You can raise your hand. We'll be able to see you as we go through this discussion. Feel welcome and participate actively in it. So let us continue with the topic, sparking an emotional connection. When we talk of sparking, meaning feeling it, rising it, energizing it, or creating it, that emotional spark, does it mean that oftentimes speakers realize they lack the emotional connection? Do you often realize you've missed it? Could we start with any of you? Who can answer? Do you realize you've missed the emotional connection with your audience at times?
I could say something.
Yes.
If you are a keen person and you're really interested in your audience, you definitely will and you should. I say this, and also adding to what Joycelyn had said, that when you look at people, you look at their emotions, you look at their faces. If you crack a joke and they're not smiling, that should be feedback to you. So as a speaker, you need to look at the non-verbals in addition to the verbals. As Toastmasters, we know that when you speak, probably the audience may not have a chance to say something. But how about those faces that they make? How about the ones that are disinterested in what you're saying? And if they're smiles, can you read beyond what you see on the surface? So my answer is yes. As a good speaker, you should be able to get that feedback and respond by either adjusting how you engage. And just like what you did, Dr. Jane, you ask the audience or the people in the room to ask questions, to engage. That way you can tell. If you don't give them a chance, then you might not even tell whether they're with you or not. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emily. Yes, Terence, has this happened to you? Have you found yourself talking alone at the stage one time?
Yes, yes.
Tell us
I
about
will talk about audiences in different aspects. There's a time I entered an interview room, and as you described, one of the panelists was actually dozing off. I think he had had a very long night. I wanted to get into what I had rehearsed, but then I tried and tested several things and looked for one that got him to look up. And I hit on that point on several occasions. For him, it was about the numbers because he's a senior executive. He wasn't really interested about the stories and how they connect. He was really interested about why you and how would you make the company a better place. And when I started talking about the numbers, we really connected. And at the end of the interview, he's the one who was championing for me in as much as the others were still divided. He was the only one who was really for me because I had seen him in that lake and fished him out into the real world. And so for me, that has really worked, where you keep testing. So I tried testing what I had prepared before, and it didn't seem to work. Then I tried something that was well within my plan, but was to come at a later time, and it worked immediately. And so I focused on that for him, and I kept blending with other ways for the rest of the audience because it was a panel session. And so I would pose that engagement can also be a science, or an art or a science, where you try something and see if it works, go back to the drawing board if it doesn't work, and try something else. Back to you.
That's a real experience. Terence, you sound like you were really in control of your audience and your art. You had really prepared with several examples and other data to really try different methods to see if your people would be engaged. I think that was quite wise of you. And that topic draws us even to closer into the items that we are covering in this session. One aspect is being authentic. Your audience or the crowd can see when you are genuine, when you are real, and when you are not. And one of the reasons that keep people off, even if it's just on a public forum, is when they detect that someone is not real with them, someone is not open, honest with them in their discussions. And aspects of this that we are going to check is, how do leaders embody the sense of authenticity? How do you bring your authentic self to the stage or even in such a forum as this? Joyce, would you like to attempt that, please?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Jane, because I think if you are to bring authenticity to the stage, you have to be very self-aware that you're not competing with anyone. There are some people who are boisterous and loud and they gesture, whether they're moderating or they are speaking, they're just being themselves. And there are others who are a bit withdrawn, and not very, they don't gesticulate a lot. To be authentic, to know yourself first, that when you're overdoing it, will you look genuine and credible, or will you immediately lose the trust of your audience and everything else that you say goes over their heads? So I think that first is to be really self-aware. Like Terence has said, you might have prepared an opening, but you are in connection with your audience enough to know that that will not work. Even if it was your best, the opening that you had rehearsed, just to have a connection, that to also know what strategies you would take as an individual, given your own character, your own personality, your knowledge, everything that you bring to the table. How can you, as an individual, since we are different, then change the trajectory so that you are able to retain or renew or get back the attention of your audience and the connection with them? So for me, I tend to be a bit not very boisterous. So I am very self-aware that when I see my tone going flat and I can see the feedback from the audience, then I have to quickly just come back and do something that makes the mood a bit more lively. Yeah. Thank you, Jane.
Oh, that's a wonderful observation. And Joycelyn, that reminds me, there is a time early this year, I had really started the year beefed up and I really wanted to take the speaking slots. And then I sent these on all the social media forums, and one lady called me and said, "Hey, Jane, my sister is a principal in one of the schools and she wants a motivational speaker." So I said, I've always referred to myself as an inspirational speaker. And I was almost saying, because it is beginning of the year, you've got those goals and you can see one was already handed to you. And I'm like, am I a motivational speaker or inspirational speaker? And I had to dig deep in myself and accept that, Jane, you have got a reason why you say you've always referred to yourself as a motivational speaker. And I turned down that. So I remained as a motivational speaker, but almost tempted. But thankness to your point there, Joyce, that awareness is important. Emily, has that happened to you? How do you bring yourself authentically to the stage?
Thank you, Dr. Jane. First of all, to be authentic, I try to engage where I have history that lends credibility. In areas that I have some expertise, I have an experience, and that gives me that credibility. And also to connect with people, especially emotional connection, you need to self-disclose a bit. We talk about anecdotes. Tell people stories that are relatable to the topic you're speaking about. And this requires you to at least understand the audiences ahead of your presentation. Share your own personal experiences. Allow yourself to be vulnerable and tell people things they can relate with. If you're going to give examples, of course, don't bring in examples that are very personal, that touch, rub people the wrong way, but be vulnerable. So I have done that many times as a teacher. I engage students very many times. And as Terence said, sometimes you try different examples. And when you're teaching people online, people can hide behind their screens and switch off their videos, and no one would really talk to you. So you have to, and I try very many times to find what makes people connect. And for instance, if I'm asking a question, I will tell the students, could you share your own experiences from where you work? What do you do? And prior to that, we already probably know each other, because the first thing we do is get to introduce ourselves. People talk about what they do. And I set the environment and the mood for them to freely express themselves. So I'll say, Terence, could you share your own experience at work? How does this happen? Has it ever happened to you? So that way, they open up and they share their own stories. And many times you see people wanting to come out and just speak. So we have connected. I share my stories, my authentic stories, and that also helps me to connect. But some of them sometimes are not easily understood. So I also learn in the process, and I keep changing, and I deflect, like throw it back to them. And many times I also get to learn on how to do it right the next time. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I love the way you bring a sense of awareness, even when you are on the stage. Terence has mentioned it, Jocelyn has mentioned, when she sees people not reacting accordingly, she fast changes. And that is the same thing retorted by Emily. So I just love that sense of awareness. And the audience, I hope we are getting this. I hope you've also been at those instances where you are in a stage and you're trying to connect. At times we struggle a lot to connect. So as we go through this discussion, I hope you get points that you can cling on, that you can possess and own and put into practice. That is the aim of this. Yes, thank you once more for that. So let's go to the next one. We've been talking about the audience, Before you bring your authentic self and bring up that story, I believe there is an audience. How did you know that that audience will like this story? How will you know that that audience will like this story? In other words, how do you understand your audience? How do you understand your audience? We did not start speaking as Toastmasters. At least there we are taught the audience and all that. But for you, so far up to where you are, how do you link up and know your audience and therefore bring up the most relevant things that will connect with them? Yes, Terence, I can see you smiling, and I'm sure you're very much ready to take up that. Take it up.
Thank you. This is indeed a happy day for me, because these are experiences that I've had a lot. I could take us back to the interview space. And this is something I believe many of the members in the audience experience each and every time in their lives. You could be pitching to a client, or you could be attending an interview. For me, whenever I get that invitation for or that appointment confirmed, I check who else is going to attend that meeting. I check the people who I'm going to meet, and I look them up online. I try to find out what kind of person is this? What kind of conversations does this person engage in? And you can find that especially on social media and also on LinkedIn. So you look at their LinkedIn profile, you see what they're posting or what they are engaging with, and you get to know that these are the kind of stories that will resonate well with this person. And where, for instance, like in my case, where this person is totally offline, then you try and get into his shoes. You try and say, this kind of person is in this space. And based on his industry, I would look for a persona or someone who would be similar to him, have similar interests, and try and research on someone else who is similar and just try and connect the two. That has really worked for me, because at the end of the day, it's about what is in it for that person in the audience. For him, he keeps asking himself, so what? So what? Each sentence you say, each word you say, he keeps asking himself, so what? And if you can answer that for him, that's a win for you. Because at the end of the day, it's about what value does he get from listening to you? What value do you get as a member of the audience from attending this session? What value do you get as somebody whom I'm engaging with as a supplier? What value am I bringing on the table? So that's how I've done it, and it has been successful. Thank you.
What value is he bringing to the table? And Terence has mentioned going through this, through the different social media channels, tracing back to the discussion, tracing back to the stories in order to bring relevance to the audience. In other words, what I'm getting from Terence is if he finds out how they relate, what resonates with the people he's about to talk to. Thank you so much, Terence, for that. Emily, have you ever spoken to a group that you did not know or you didn't get their composition before? And how did you handle that?
Absolutely. I was invited to speak to a group during the 16 days of activism, and it was an online, it was a webinar online. I only knew the person who invited me. So what I did, first of all, was to ask, what kind of people do you expect to join? So largely, I knew the audience composition, not to the specific details. It's not always all the time that you get the specific details, but at least I knew there would be funders, there would be implementers, and I knew the topic. And I knew what I was going to speak about, and I knew there were discussants because I was the keynote speaker. So I prepared my presentation very well and provided statistics to help me connect with the theme of that webinar. So I did a bit of research to also understand what are the current trends, what are the current issues, what are the pain points of people within that sector, especially regarding SGBV or GBV generally, and what would be the key things that they want to know. Coming from myself as a researcher, there are specific things they would want to know, because obviously, even for the audience, if it was someone else from a different background, they would ask you certain things. So knowing my role as a speaker helped me to prepare well, and also trying to understand the level best that I could of the audience, because it's not often that you'll get to know your audience to the most granular level, which is really each and every person. And this happens many times when you're speaking to a mass audience. You may know the large segments, but not the specifics. So you try as much as possible to tailor your message. That's what I did. And it did work. That researching, knowing their needs, their inspirations, their interests, and the current trends really helped me. So social media, yes, did work. Research findings, the latest relevant research findings also was very useful for me in this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emily. I'm getting that Terence has spoken about following the audience, checking where they are or where they interact. Emily has mentioned research. Even if we as speakers, leaders don't know the audience that we are going to engage with, we've got other options. First option that Emily has mentioned is to talk to the host. Ask them, maybe a session, I want to believe so, Emily. Have a session with them, maybe that first session, what kind of audience am I going to do? What is the issue there? What is the problem? And other than that, Emily goes ahead. Thank God she's a researcher. Believe all of us can do that research at some point. And especially when there is need, you'll go for it. She searches, she does her research well and gets the trend. What is going on? How does it affect them? What will they benefit? I think I'm loving this. And audience, you need to give us those emojis and just give them to Emily, give them to our panelists when the good points come up. But I appreciate, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Daktari. I appreciate that you've showed up some questions. And I think let's take up the questions for a moment. I would request, Violet, are you in? Could you read to us the questions, please?
I am here with you, Jen. I am connected. I am an audience who connects. We have a question from Kevin Rubia. Kevin Rubia says, thank you for the enriching discussion. How do you balance professionalism with vulnerability when trying to connect emotionally with your audience? That's the first question. Kevin again goes further and says, in the digital age where much communication is online, how can we spark genuine emotional connection? Thank you, and back to you, Jen.
Good. Thank you very much for taking us through that, Violet. We appreciate it. Yes, panelists, you've got queries, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. How do you balance professionalism and vulnerability? Do you stand at the stage and just say it all as it is? Or how do you compose yourself and come out as a professional who knows how to balance what to say, when to say, and how to say it? I'm wondering who is going to take up this first. Who is ready? Could one of you take it up? Joycelyn, you want to go for it?
Yes, sure, Jen, because it reminds me of a session that I had to moderate recently for our institution, our professional institution. And there's someone of Chinese origin had just spoken, and I just shared an experience of when we were children. We thought all Japanese, Chinese, anybody who had the funny eyes were all ching chongs. I got mixed feedback. Some people were amused by it, some people were not. So it is the balance again of knowing your audience. How would they react if you say this or the other? Will it be prejudice? Within your audience, are there people who are going to be offended? And also to know yourself, that are you able to deliver it in a way that doesn't leave people, like, that's such a dry joke. Are you able to deliver it knowing yourself as well? So I would say that research, balance professionalism, your audience, and then not to lay it all out. But I also want to add another example of, I had a birthday for my son and he was turning 18, and just getting the impromptu affirmation speech out, like getting the balance of what would teens who are about 18, 19 want to hear, and what is the extent that I want to say as a parent without being dull and boring. So it's not always just about professionalism, but just even in our day-to-day lives, the impromptu speaking we have to say, from tributes to wedding toasts to whichever other occasion that we are called upon to speak. It's that balance always, professionalism and the vulnerability to the audience? So I find that quite an interesting question worth reflecting further about.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Jocelyn, you've just reminded me. Actually, that is a very important point. Recently, we went for a burial, and it was in the rural village back home. So my people always have a say that our Kiswahili language is not their mouth. That is a direct translation. They are not good at it. So there were several people. We had people, including Tanzanians, in that place. And the pastor, after speaking severally, mentioned that Kiswahili is not an official language. I've added the word official. He said something else, but that is the best I can relate it here. And consider we had Tanzanians. So, and this is a pastor. So when they concluded and Tanzanians were given opportunity to speak, they were direct and they said, we were ready to receive the Lord. But because you said Kiswahili is not an official language, you went back to your mother tongue, and we didn't get a thing. And I want to believe that is exactly what happens. When we are not careful about the background, about the collection that we have as our audience, we tend to miss a lot. Fellow members, due to time, I'd like us to go to the next question. Would you read it again, Violet, please? The second question from Dr. Rubia.
Yes. The second question from Dr. Rubia says, in the digital age, sorry, something has come up. In the digital age, where much communication is online, how can we spark genuine emotional connections?
Wonderful. That is a question for us in this digital. And I'm loving this question because it is exactly where we are, what we are doing. So perfect question in the right time. Terence, take it up, please.
Thank you. I have seen two examples of this. One of them is Dr. Kevin Rubia, and another one is Bram Memon, my founding member of an advanced Toastmasters club that I belong to. For them, they still use the same strategies that you would use offline. For instance, sparking a conversation with someone and being genuine and just following up and finding out about them. For instance, Dr. Kevin Rubia is always, his name is very common in the Toastmasters space, simply because he connects. For him, and I believe it's as if this is a question he lives, or the response to this question is what he actually embodies. It's that every month you expect at least one or two messages from Dr. Kevin Rubia, just saying, hi, how are you? How are things? Simple. And in this digital age, if I may emphasize, we have so many tools that we can use, so many tools at our disposal. We have WhatsApp, we have email, although that's a bit old-fashioned for some, but depending on your culture and depending on your environment and where you work and the kind of work you do, there are some tools that are commonplace for you. You use them daily. And so if we can engage and use those tools and connect the same way we used to connect physically, for instance, as I've given the example of Dr. Kevin Rubia, just finding out about your colleagues, your friends, how are they doing, being genuine about it. And for my club president, whenever he has engagements such as this, he will be sure to automate those messages, but go beyond that. You know, the email messages that go out after such to get the feedback. He would go beyond that and connect with that person, especially when he sees something that can be developed, something that can be worked on, or something that can be improved. And he'll give you genuine feedback, or he just connect with you genuinely. So that when you get to the meeting, for instance, if I had connected with all members of this audience prior to this session, then I would be in the midst of friends. And so it goes the same way. If you can leverage on the tools that we already have as with this technology, you can make a lot of connections which are still genuine, which can still help you in this digital age.
Thank you very much, Terence. Before I just highlight what you've said, we've got my friend here, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you're mentioning you want to leave. Do you want to say something, please, before you leave? How do you manage stage? Do you come out authentically? Which one do you want to tell us about?
Thank you, team. I'm highly impressed to sit with you. So as I have been going through your responses, I got something else to my mind. Physically, when you see someone interacting, we know their emotion. How come we know their emotional outburst or experience when they don't even switch on their videos? For example, we have around 20 members. Only the panelists have a question and a discussion. And I'm afraid, what message are we conveying to the audience who do not even see us interact or just give a chance how they appear? So this gives a problem for the communicator. Is communication online just passing the information or connecting them? So as a communicator, I always insist on 3 V's. 3 V's. If you want to communicate or listen to someone, be visible. If not, don't come. If not, don't come. As a communicator or as a receiver, you should be visible. The second, you should have a voice to reach the audience in a way they like. It's not your mic is not working, or you have a throat issue, or you are just talking how you like in your country. No. It should be how the words should be spoken, and in a way it reaches the audience. So make your voice practice before you talk. This is the second way we emphasize. And the third way, value. Do not give any message if you think that your audience do not like it. So these are the 3 ways how I engage my audience with energy, with voice and visibility, adding value. So I don't say, as I am an English expert teaching in college with thousands of students from last 25 years, I rarely see my students feeling bored because I do maintain the energy level, either it is the first period or the last period. So here I want the audience also to show that energy level that they are interested in us. If they don't connect to us, we cannot connect to them. This is as simple. So the panelists, I do appreciate the perfect answers through their discussion. I'm highly impressed to be with your team. I hope my voice has reached you and my energy level might have awakened anyone that feels asleep. Thank you.
A wonderful contribution. What a wonderful contribution. I'm energized. Your enthusiasm has just caught fire in me. Thank you very much. Three V's that I will never ever forget. And I think in my next session, these are going to be principles or rules. Number 1, be visible. Number 2, have a clear voice. Number 3, add value to your audience. This is wonderful. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. You have added great value to us. Right, right. So can we go to the last aspect of our discussion today, incorporating visuals and music. Incorporating visuals and music to add value. First of all, let me ask you, how often do you use music in your meetings? Can a Toastmaster answer me kindly? Music. Yes, any Toastmaster, not just the panelists.
I believe you attended our last meeting at Leadership
Last
Speak
meeting
last
was
week.
yesterday.
No, the last Leadership Speak, not early birds. You were in the meeting, right?
Yes, I did.
Yes. For that session, we use music, especially for the awards, or I use music for the awards whenever I'm called upon to share the awards. So I use music for that. And surprisingly, for the last 2 weeks, or the past 2 weeks, or the last two sessions, we've had speakers. Is it the last two sessions? Rather, I missed the last one, but for the last two sessions I have attended, we had speakers who made an attempt at singing in their speech. I don't know how that adds value to what you're saying, but I believe it's part of what you have discussed. I know maybe someone else can have another example, but that's what I've experienced. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terence. That is one example. Tell me, how have you used music or even visuals? Visuals I've seen people use. Yes, Dan Odero. We'd like to hear from you. Karibu, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Hamisi. One thing about music, and sometimes we forget it when we're doing our meetings, but if you remember, when people develop movies we go to watch, there's a music director. There's always a music score. So the whole thing is themed around a music score, and they even have a score that actually have it. And this brings up, essence, the remembrance of the movie. And if someone say, "Do you remember that movie?" Remember the music that was played there. So a lot of times, for me, I try to have my meetings and add music into the meetings. So it gives you something that you remember continuously. Some years ago, many years ago, over 20 years ago, I remember I worked in a restaurant, the Carnival restaurant in Johannesburg, and there was music that played throughout. So working there, to date, if a song plays, I remember the moment at that time because of the music that was playing at that time. Same thing you find in hotels. If you go to a 5-star hotel, it's not a quiet lounge. They have music playing. If you go to a high-class restaurant, they have music playing. It adds a sense that makes it different. So that bonds us, that ties us. And even you have maybe a song score for the speaker. What this? I think I like to put a lot of it in there, and I'm trying to do more of it because of this. A music director, how does music be part of the meetings we have? Back to you, Dr. Hamisi.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I work in community, and the last 3 days of this week, there is a meeting in Uhuru Park just behind us, and I can hear the music full time, and it rings in my mind, and today it reminded me that tomorrow I've got to attend that meeting going on. So members, thank you so much for this. Time does not allow us, as always, to really exhaust these discussions in a manner that we want them to be. But from where I am, I'm energized. I feel it is just beginning. So could we take this as a launch pad to similar such discussions and just get together to energize one another, to empower one another, to develop one another through these forums? So today, our topic has been sparking an emotional connection, engaging your audience. As speakers, as leaders, this is what we go through every day. And it is just a perfect time for us to raise it to another level. And one of the ways to raise it and to connect deeply is through the emotional connection we have just gone through. As we are concluding, I'm sure our panelists have one word to say, the last word to say, and maybe one person from the forum has something to say before we close it up. Yes, we're going to start with Emily. You're welcome, Emily.
Thank you. Maybe not one word, but I was really burning to add from the book, Brain Rules by John Medina. And it says something very important, which I think we've all heard, about visuals, because you talked about visuals.
Right.
That 3 days after your presentation, 65% will remember what they saw, as compared to 10% that will just remember the text. So with that, I want to encourage us to connect with our audiences when we get a chance to. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, Joycelyn, please.
Thank you, Jane. For me, the take home would be relatable. As the previous speaker has said, I think Emmanuel said, the visuals, the voice, the value, everything that connects to your audience, that helps you for them to remember your content, or even yourself, that what was that speaker about and what was their area of expertise, and relatability, whether you have given an anecdote from your childhood, your teenage, from references to your parents, grandparents. Look for something. Research on your audience. Look for something that is relatable, so that there's a take home that is memorable. Thank you, Jane, for the session.
Thank you so much. Look for something that is relatable. Don't just pour all the information you have on people. Relate, speak to them, add value to them. Yes, Terence.
Thank you for this session, and thank you especially for the audience for your attention, and thank you for your time. My takeaway is something that I keep meeting each and every meeting, each and every time, and in each and every engagement. It's all about the audience. I'm quoting someone from my club. It's all about the audience. Whatever you do, it leads back to the audience. Why should they care? Why should they be engaged? And why should they listen to you? And I'm grateful for this opportunity to engage, that I've engaged, and I've learned a lot more about audience engagement. And I look forward to learning and growing in this space, more so making it about the audience and giving them value. Thank you, and back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you once more, Terence. Thank you so much. I can read, someone has written, for you to be able to connect deeply with the audience, trust. Trust must be established first. As a speaker, your best way to earn trust from the audience is to connect, to make them connect with you. Fellow leaders, fellow communicators, we have come to the end of this session, and I believe the discussion has sparked you. It has sparked the emotional connection you got and created a mind for you on ways to engage with your audience. I want to believe from tomorrow or tonight, those who've got opportunity to speak, you are going to engage with your audience authentically. You are going to know your audience, and you're going to embrace the use of visuals and music to expand your level of communication. Thank you very much. I'll stop the recording, and you are free to interact for a moment. Thank you.